Hey, good evening, everybody. I am Chuck Rogers, licensed professional counselor and licensed marriage and family therapist.
And I'm Keith Dunn, and I am a network engineer,
And together we're Tabletop Coffee.
where we are bold and never, ever bitter.
And tonight we are talking about take your eye off the goal. Stay tuned and we'll talk about it.
You know, I like that topic name a lot because there's so many times in life that we're told to focus on the goal, focus on the goal, focus on the goal. But a lot of times when we do that, we lose sight of all the things that we have to do or all the things that got us to the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's especially, I talk about this all the time with my clients and with my residents that are in supervision with me. Because a lot of times by the time people get to me for marriage counseling, they've already been having difficulty for at least 6 years before they ever come. So you have the thing that initially they struggled with, then you have the last 6+ years as well. And so things oftentimes are really difficult. And people will set goals that they want to obtain. They have an idea of where they are. They don't like it. They have an idea of where they want to be. And they want to move in this particular direction. And so oftentimes I will tell the couple, what's the first sign that you'll see that will tell you that you're headed in the right direction? Or sometimes an individual will come who's having a relational struggle and the partner won't be there. They're just working on things for themselves. And I'll ask the very same thing of that person who is coming. What's the very first thing that you'll notice when you're headed in the right direction? I know you're here at point A. I know that you want to get over here to point B. And I want you to get there too. But what's the very first thing that you'll notice when you know that you're headed in the right direction?
Yeah, and it can probably be as simple as, you know, making a request. Instead of, you know, making demands on each other.
That he or she will say, hey, can we do X as opposed to making some demand? What else might be one of the first? If the marriage is really struggling and not doing well, what might be one of the other things that somebody would see that would be a first step?
Well, another thing that I think of that came to mind was, you know, it still sticks to me going through those dance videos that we did 3 years ago, but contempt. You know, when you are making faces when somebody, you know, your spouse or whoever you are communicating with, and they're saying something to you and you don't agree, and you make those, you know, you may be quiet during that time, but your facial expression shows where you are, and you're showing contempt to them through that process.
So maybe if my partner was showing contempt, maybe her face would soften a little bit. Maybe she would not be giving the eye roll or the jaw pull. I had a guy one time whose wife had actually separated from him and gotten her own place to live, and he was still living in the marital home with the children, but she would intermittently come over to get the kids and to take them back and forth. And, you know, he was like, this relationship's on its last leg. So I asked him the question, what's the very first thing that you'll notice when it's in a better direction? And he said, well, geez, I would kill for a 2-minute conversation. And I said, yeah, really, that's a good one.
That is a real good one.
So he comes back a few weeks later for a session, and I said, how are things going? What's been good, you know, between you and your wife? Even though I don't realize she's separated from you. And he said, well, you know, she stops by to get the kids or to drop the kids off. And the other day, she stopped by and I said, how was your day? And she says, oh, it was just terrible. It was a terrible day. And he says, well, what about your day? And she was working as an administrative assistant for a particular company, and she just began to unload on him about how difficult her supervisor had been that day. Was very unkind, spoke negatively, was throwing all kinds of tasks up on her, and she just unloaded on him for like 12 minutes or so.
Okay.
And I said, that is so awesome.
Yeah,
and
it is.
he said, what's awesome? I said that, she had this trust with you, and she just unburdened her day on you. This is so great. And he says, what's great about it? She's still living in another house across town with me and the kids here in this house. This is terrible.
Right.
And I said, no, it's wonderful. In fact, you told me a few weeks ago, your words were that you would kill for a 2-minute conversation.
There it is.
You didn't just have a 2-minute conversation.
That's right.
You had a 12-minute conversation.
That's great.
Obviously, it's working,
Yeah,
right?
that's
what
right.
he was doing.
Yeah.
And then later on, this continued. And then he asked her another night, said, well, I know you're tired. You just got off work, and I've got dinner in the oven. It's, not a lot. It's just, for me and the kids, but we have plenty. Would you be interested in, having a meal with us? And she said, yeah, I would like that. It'd be nice to not go home and cook. And so it began to progress in a little bit better direction. So you've got to, I know what he wanted. He wanted her to move back in. He wanted to share the same dwelling. He wanted to be able to sit at the same table with her every night.
Right.
I know what his heart was.
Yeah.
And that was his goal. But if he stayed focused on the goal and missed the incremental movement, although seemingly small, it really wasn't small, it was seemingly small,
Sure.
he would have likely gotten weary and quit doing the good things that he was doing.
Yeah, and a lot of times we can, and we talked about this in another video as well just a few weeks ago, where things that we do have an effect on the other person. So we can make a change in how we do things, and it may not be immediately seen or immediately make a change, but over time, it tends to soften the other person.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And makes a change in their life.
It does. So, the scripture says, don't become weary in doing good.
Right.
For the proper time, you get a harvest when you don't give up.
That's
and so we've got to take our eye off the goal, take your eye off the harvest, and look at what you're doing, and is it making a difference? All right. Hey, I hope that was helpful for you. If it was, would you please subscribe? Because Keith would really appreciate
Yes,
that.
I would, and ding that bell so you're notified of upcoming episodes.
And remember to take your eye off the goal and look at the progress.
Hey, and while you're doing that, share this with your friends.
Thanks, everybody.
Until next time.